Thank you, Mani. Firstly, a very warm welcome to each and every one of you. It is always a delight to, I can maybe put myself, can you put me on the full screen, Mani? Lovely. It's always a delight to, and privilege, in fact, to be with Sangha Live. And a couple of days ago, the teacher who was due to speak this evening, unfortunately, could not participate with you. So I offered, and it's a delight to be here to do that. So the evening in England falls into three primary areas. So one area will be the guided meditation on this, the importance of the experience of upliftment, vitally important. A second will be a talk, expanding further on the theme. And then finally, there'll be a question and answers. And between the talk and the question and answers, I'll also speak to you from a teacher standpoint with regard to the dana, the donations that give support to Sangha Live and all that it offers, as well as the teachers, including myself there. But first, just with a general overview with you, as Mani was just reading out from the text and the description there, my goodness me, there is a lot in this world which can be very, very troubling. And we look at this world that we are engaged in, living in day out, the suffering, the conflicts, the acute vulnerabilities, the impact on our species, the impact on creatures and on the natural world. We look at this world that we are living in, the immensity of the pressures and the stresses in people's lives, the unhappiness, the loneliness, the viruses, the health issues, problematic unresolved states of mind, conflict in the family with the groups, etc. Whoa, 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 whoa. This is no easy planet to live on. This is no easy journey through the field of experience there. Yet, in spite of all of that, and in the face of all of that, still there is the uplifting experience. And I say it is critically important. It's important to recognize, and the guided meditation and the talk. And in the talk, I will give some examples, some personal for sure, of the uplifting experience. And I've got one of my books of poetry here, and I'll just take a few lines from time to time, which help to mirror and reflect the quality and the transcendent liberating value of these experiences, sometimes more liberating than what we realize. I'll touch upon that later. First, the posture. I've got the glass of water here. It's not far away. Posture matters. My goodness me, it matters. No wonder the dear old Buddhist tradition has emphasized it so much. So in this, the sitting posture, for most of us, including me, probably sitting on a chair. Unless you have some back issues, do not lean into the back of the chair. It's just another kind of unnecessary dependency. There's far too much of it. 2 feet are rather flat on the floor. Your blood pressure goes up if you have one leg dumped on top of the other. One leg goes to sleep. Hardly the best wisdom in the world. So 2 feet flat on the floor, sitting rather tall there. I'm going to close my eyes during this period of time with you as well. So we just sit. You sit in the chair. You sit in the car. We sit on the bus, train, going to work or studies. We sit at the breakfast table. We sit in the coffee shop. We sit in the desk at work. We sit. Mindfulness meditation is remembering the different chairs that we sit in and the importance of presence. Of being grounded. So we can give the opportunity for the whole being to settle while keeping the integrity of the full upright posture. These teachings, practices have several priorities. One of them is called looking at the dukkha, that means the suffering, the difficulties in life. It's never stated with the Buddha, life is suffering. It is stated there is suffering in life. Right now, in our daily life, is there any issue going on that requires some genuine care, attention, and especially change? Let us be clear about what that is about. Let us also be equally clear. If something doesn't change, then it will continue as it did before. And if we can find ways to bring change to the view, to the relationship, to the issue, and develop and stay true with that initiative, then things will not continue as they did before. A change of heart, a change of mind, a change of view, a change of understanding, a change of motivation. And finding skillful ways as well to change the outer situation, whoever, whatever that may be about. Mindfulness, meditation, reflection, generating change is equally inner and outer. But there's always used the language of mindfulness, inner, out, and outer. And in spite of these kind of variety of challenges, the issues, the suffering, the frustrations, the anxieties, the worry, the anger, the blame, and all the rest of the catastrophes. Can you recall recently any uplifting experiences? Something perhaps you witnessed, you felt, you saw, you heard. Releasing some happiness and joy. That it broke through despite the anguish, despite the worry, despite the anxiety. Therefore, that happiness, that joy transcended the problematic mind state. Mindfulness of reflection, mindfulness of the benefits of memory, the reading of that which is inspirational, than listening to a teaching or a precious piece of music. The happiness of eating truly nourishing and healthy and beneficial food. The upliftment of the human spirit, which we can't explain. There's nothing obvious. But we sense the wonder of life, the awe of this experience, what we're living in. And it puts a proper perspective on our so-called personal issues. There is the depth of experience in stillness, in silence, indoors, in meditation. And the depths of experience outdoors. Experiencing the sky above and the earth below. And the changeable dynamics of environmental life. So that we are really feeling what we are experiencing. To uplift the human spirit from the mundane, the trivial, the largely irrelevant. So sometimes the outdoors is a real key for this. To experience exposure to the elements. So that we are much closer to the real of life. And trapped in small-mindedness. Trapped in the content day after day of the mobile phone. Trapped in imprisoning thoughts. So we remember, we reflect, we experience the upliftment in the world of sights and sounds, in the world of the heart and the being. Revealing its transcendent element when it starts to put a proper perspective on our so-called personal issues. We attend to them as suggested at the beginning of the guided meditation. The great act of implementing change can bring the end to the repetition of the old. And this uplifts the human spirit. It frees us up. And there's nothing more precious than that which frees us up. Remaining minute or two. May all beings explore our human experience. May all beings go deep into our experience. May all beings explore beneficial change in all the directions. Okay, thank you for lending an ear. So, short talk time at this time. Hit of the water. So the theme with you, that's about half an hour, is the exploration of the upliftment of the spirit. A few personal examples for you. Quote from the odd verse here and there. I've got the glasses ready for the task. So in the exploration of life, the human experience, let's be as clear as we can be. There is the object which grabs our attention. Person, place, situation, money, life, death, others, politics, whatever it might be. That's object of interest. And there is the human relationship to the object of interest. The relationship to and what it is, that duality, that's the bareness of life. Human being engaged with objects of interest. When we get the shout or the whisper that there's something problematic in the way of relating to, that's when the real interest in change comes. Soon as we get the whisper, there's something problematic, it can be very immediate that one wants to change the object, him, her, the job, the money. That may or may not be possible, but we're close to our being. So yes, changing the external is valuable, but changing the being, our view, our relationship, that matters. And that releasing of into a fresh way of looking is the major contribution to start ending the suffering. Always been like that. How it is for our existence, going to be like that for a long, long time. And in spite of, I'm going to come to a poem in a moment. I've only got half an hour. I could go on a long time on this one, but anyway, half an hour is long enough. That in spite of all the personal global dramas that go on, something from the deep of the being can move through. And as I talk to you, I remember listening to one of the patron saints of the Dharma, the late beloved Leonard Cohen, singing in the stadium in London. Some of my Dharma friends that told me it was one of the most spiritual events they ever witnessed. And right in the middle of the concert, Leonard said, and bless him, I wrote about it in one of the blogs, he listed all the heavy-duty drugs he had taken for his melancholy and his depression and alcohol issues, and no. He just listed them one after the other. I remember writing them down and looked at these particular drugs. Whoa, this is heavy-duty drugs with all the side effects that go with it. And then he said, with that beautiful innocence of the smile that went with it, he said, despite all these drugs, cheerfulness kept breaking through. I mean, 5-star. That is what transcendence is all about. So if it can keep breaking through, despite all the chemicals suppressing all his emotional life and all the unhappiness, and it still breaks through, then it should be easy for us who are not on those kind of chemicals. Maybe. All right. 1 point made. Okay, where's the glasses, Christopher? Now. It's in the small. Sometimes you think uplifting experience is some big Bodhi tree experience, which is mind-blowing. No, forget all that. It's boring. It's much more immediate, much more close at hand. Starts when we wake up. So you can see there's a book. 2 paragraphs, 2 verses, I'm sorry. I wake up. I wake this special morning. Life is now, ever fresh, with rest at home, with none around. I am awake, this realm alone to bow. I'm life, I'm here, this earth endures surround. A call engaged, fresh explorations near. I have been born anew, this timeless seat. I can't explain what my perceptions hear. A doorbell rings and I take steps to greet. Meaning, in the subtleties of the most ordinary experience, I wake up. Life is present. I'm connected. Not long after, the doorbell rings. Maybe it's the postman, maybe it's a delivery or whatever. And there's a movement inside to greet. If we neglect all of that, if we forget this vulnerable beauty of the existence in the tiny detail, like waking up, how on earth are we going to be able to cope with problems and difficulties if we neglected the wonder of it all? How and what chance have we got? So therefore, use the Buddha language for the moment, the sukkha, that means happiness, as a transcendent element, is a valuable contribution to handling the dukkha, which is the problematic. And sometimes we really need both. That means, yes, we attend fully as we can to the problematic life. Really take good counsel with others who can give us support. But my goodness me, the vitality and the necessity of the wonder of small appreciations. The other evening, I'm out for a walk quite late with a friend. And I live in Titmuss. It doesn't fall into the city category, population 8,200. And 5 minutes walk from my home is the River Dart. And we took a walk along the track right beside the river. Nobody around. You know, in small towns, everybody's in bed asleep by about 9 p.m. in the evening. Most of the lights are out. Not all of us are going to bed at 9 o'clock. Some of us are midnight birds. However, and we walked along. And as we walked along the track, sat at a bench and then began to walk back, this handful of stars you could count on one hand, we could see, blocked by the clouds and so forth. And suddenly, they began to lift away. And suddenly, wow, talk about uplifting experience. That experience, whoa. And the joy of that didn't end with that. One of my favorite sounds on this earth, which we have nearby, is the call of the tawny owl in the night. And sometimes the night is so extraordinarily still. And the tawny owl began its call. and the stars shining down. And then another tawny owl responded. And then a third one. And it's like the owls are calling to each other, perhaps telling each other, look, there's two people walking along the track nearby, and looking up the stars. Those experiences, they're precious, they're deep, they're touching, and most of all, they remind us of our human spirit, of our abilities to be so receptive and so touched, despite the daily troubles, despite the challenges. The other day in Titmuss, where I live, some of you will know Mark Coleman. And for 20 years plus now, he's been giving in California and elsewhere, just coming back from Dartmoor as well, when I saw him, tremendous teachings and his wonderful books on the importance of the outdoors. And he and I we had a coffee together, chatting in Exeter. Lovely to see the good man. And he said he regularly finishes his courses and his retreats with he says gives the same reminder 3 times. I can't remember the exact wording, but essentially, spend time outdoors. Spend time outdoors. And sometimes some of the, those of you who know the retreat world, those of us in the retreat world, mostly indoors, the self can get a bit inflated. Oh, if you're really serious. We were joking about this. You go on personal retreats, you go on a retreat in a building and doesn't have much historical background. The Buddha spent pretty well his entire life teaching outdoors, as an example. So what I mean by that, as an example, residential retreats indoors are precious and wonderful in various climates, but never neglect for a single day the opportunity to be outdoors. We don't actually have to be super fit and long walks. We can just walk outdoors. If you had the privilege of a garden there. So the night sky, the call of the owls, the experience of the outdoors, all of that is precious in the upliftment of the human spirit. And therefore we might ask ourselves, if the human spirit is not connecting with these passions and elements of life, is a factor in this, actually, I'm not spending much time out of doors. All right, move on. Who will you listen to? Important here. They're all important. Who will you listen to when they declare they swirl all around you? They always know best, and then try changing you. So then beware. Upon those judges, whim to fix your fate, as though they can offer real security, and then deceive you with maturity. These voices will not guide nor promise much. You must explore the woodland's path as such. So there's far too many people around telling us what we should do with our lives. I'm a bit vulnerable to this, telling other people. And others are, you good psychotherapists, yoga teachers, meditation teachers, social workers, school teachers, etc. We're all vulnerable to telling other people what they should be doing. Got to take care with this. You know, There used to be a rebellion against people like us. All right, you get the point. So in that, all the voices telling us what we should do, and it might suppress the voice of the deep. Sometimes too many people seem to have the idea they know what's best for us. I'm not so sure if that's quite the case. So if we can listen and maybe a point she, he, other make to us or the group and take it on board, but then we reflect on it. Is there a truth in what I heard which has the potential to uplift the spirit? Has the potential for a change? And sometimes, if our mindfulness is in top-notch condition, which sometimes we're not, but if it is, when it's really in pristine condition, somebody can lay a really heavy-duty trip on us, say all sorts of unnecessary, unhealthy, argumentative things, but we're in the moment of being really chilled out. We're cool. And it might be in the midst of that anger, in the midst of that outburst of negativity, as though we've committed a whole series of war crimes or something, in the midst of getting the blast from there may be a point in all of that that's worth noting, that we can grow from, we can learn from, we can develop from. It's not that anger always hides the truth, but it's just so damned hard to hear it when the anger is out. And sometimes we just pick it up. Oh, yes. Recently, sometimes, back to the water for the moment, so if we find in the negativity, the anger, the aggression, whatever it comes to us, something which we can, in all of that, draw from, learn from, reflect on, apply, that pristine mindfulness transcends the anger. It's deeper than the anger. I find, and I hope some of you do too, that one of the biggest challenges in life is being blamed. True or untrue? Doesn't matter. Being blamed is a tough one for us to deal with. But because it's such a challenge, it really tests the metal. Like the Buddha said, the gold is tested in the fire. We really test the metal with us. And sometimes some of us experience almost a gladness. This is a transcendence. Wow, this personal attack, this fault finding, this accusation, this blame, or whatever, is a real challenge. And there's a kind of quiet joy. This is going to test the metal. One wants to see how the being responds to the situation. That interest is the transcendent factor. Always look for the deep. Oh, every time. So the other day, I was introduced. I'm looking at the name here. It's not easy to pronounce. This Italian composer and pianist, some of you may know, Ludovico Einaudi. Einaudi, what a lovely name to have. Einaudi. Ludovico Einaudi. Enaudi. And just puts on the box, whatever it was, YouTube or Alexa or whatever. Whoa, 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 whoa. This is the pianist of the gods. And I just listened to that. Tears listening to this. I've never heard of this person before. And the music was so soothing, touching such a genuinely deep place, and just being still in the quietude and in the silence, and just listening to this pianist play. And it's genuinely deep. And I think in such receptivity, the pianist and us, the blessed ones who can have the opportunity to listen, it's an uplifting experience. It's not just because the feeling, emotions move and the eyes become wet, or the sense of love and gratitude there, but it helps to put all the horror stories of life, and my goodness me, there are many, and so much else in life, in such a way we can draw from the piano, we can draw from the art of it, we can draw from the soothing, calming, quietening down of the being. We can draw from the deep that comes from that, and we feel anyway better equipped to look at this world and work with it, because we have people like Ludicho Renardi talking to us through the piano. We need the reminders. We need the voices now. In looking at the daily life for the reflections, how am I doing? 10 more minutes. In looking at the daily life for the reflections there, sometimes we overlook something beautiful. We might say, "Oh, I like that. I enjoyed that. That was whatever it was about." But the calm presence towards will always reveal more. Please try and take the point here. The calm presence towards whatever will reveal more. Because in the calmness and clarity, there is less category. It's not just saying, oh, there is this person, or this identity, or this is just a plant in my home, or this is just a book. Our receptivity and the real giving of attention to, with the calm, which is the deep, will reveal more. If I sit and look at a plant and really look at the plant, and one of the plants I have downstairs, I bought it a week after I moved into this house, and I've been in this house 40 years. So it's my daily companion. So in the look to the plant, listen to the piece of music or whatever, or read a book, presence keeps revealing more. It has to. I'm sure you've read a novel or a non-fiction, and in the act of the reading, you think, wow, I don't remember reading that. Wow, that's incredible. That's so insightful. And I've read this book before. with the Buddha's books, I've read them, 50 years I've been reading them. And I still keep discovering, how come I didn't see that before? Why? I've changed. I'm in the moment of receptivity. And therefore, to come back to that earlier poem, there is always the fresh. There is always the new. Right, let me find another line here. Oh, sometimes in the religious world, both the East and West, Hinduism is a great exception to all of this. I absolutely love to bits the Hindu tradition. And what I have in mind here is the Hindu tradition has embraced the romantic, embraced it in its conventional sense of relationship. So we have Rama and Sita, and Krishna and Radha, and Shiva and Parvati. It's a reminder of the potency of relationships. But also sometimes in life, many times, in the romantic life, it may relate to a situation. But there's also living the romantic life, exploring the woodland, as mentioned earlier, sparking a fresh change, a new adventure, the intimacy with the outdoors. Triggering of all of this is really precious. And sometimes, in this case, the poem, in the romantic, which is one of the genuinely pure expressions of what love is, one of many kinds of expressions of love. I was on the beach, and friend, very good, dear beloved one, was standing by the water's edge. And I was just observing from behind, leaning against some rocks, the presence and the beauty that was around. It was called She Stands in Beauty. I recall aroma of lazy days, your naked toes to touch as the sea plays. At water's edge, the sole beauty I saw, welcome the red evening, sun and more. Arch your long neck, dignity, beam of light, sublime creature, you stand in calm twilight. A sweetness beckons your true state to reach. I felt my heart pulsing across the beach. I felt your happiness, blue ocean near, as you enjoyed the white top waves so dear. The spread of joy, the time to satisfy, eternal waters as breath meets the sky. I still recall you met with sun and sea, silent to witness, you set yourself free. I leaned back in the rocks, remained still and sure, a hanging back, your cool embers held in store. And sometimes the uplifting experience in life is not something that we do ourselves, but it's that which we witness. We draw love out of the witnessing. We can draw inspiration. We can draw the upliftment of the spirit by a new adventure. And that relationship to the other, and then we ask ourselves, and I think it's a worthwhile question, who are the people in my life who contribute to the upliftment of the spirit. Who are the ones who, and look at their life, and out of what I see and out of witness, there is appreciation. Gosh, the Buddha has spoken so regularly, this lovely word, mudita, this appreciative joy. And this appreciative joy, he puts it in the highest language possible. He calls it Brahma Vihara. Vihara means abiding. Brahma is the Sanskrit word for God. That's what Brahma means. It means God. Buddhists don't like the word God, but I love it. So Brahma Vihara, to abide with God. That's how beautiful appreciative joy is. It's deep, and it finds its voice, and it finds it in the eyes, and it finds it in the ears, and it finds it in the smells, the taste, the touch. It finds it in the thought. It finds it in the meditation. It finds it in the connection. Are we abiding with God? What are the manifestations of this transcendent element of appreciative joy? Half a minute left. I could go on. I'm in a roll here, but thank you for hanging in. Sometimes in this amazing dance of life that goes on with us, as mentioned earlier, the willingness to initiate changes. And since the Buddhist world is always talking about change, but it spends far too much talking about everything is changing. It's like a mantra, which is boring as hell, that one. And far more emphasis in the original is making changes. It's seeing them, of course it is, but it's making them. That's where the power is. And the changes do not have to be so dramatic. The changes that we make is just change of the heart. It's what can we open up to? What steps can we make? What risk are we willing to make to open up to? And Dharma language, as you know, many of you, it uses this word awake. When the Buddha was walking around, the Buddha means to be awake, fully awake. So people would say, there is the one who woke up. And those who listened and practiced say, these are the ones who spent time with the one who woke up, who was contributing to their waking up. So not being awake is sleep. And sleep easily can be sleepwalking through life. And sleepwalking through life can be the continuity of habits which need to change. So to wake up is to catch the transcendent moments and notice them more. The appreciative joy, the love, the romance of life, the wonder of the stars and the tawny owl, waking up in the morning and opening the front door. To bring all that to life. And if we bring all of that to life and we wake up to all of that, it's an extraordinary resource to deal with the habits, the sleepwalking. Please do not go the other way around. The wrong, my view, the unhelpful way around is, oh, I've got so much stuff to deal with, and it's really hard. I'm working on it. I'm doing my retreats. I'm going to see my therapist. I'm going to see my doctor. I'm etc., etc. And all of that can be genuinely important. I mean, I am a retreat teacher, by the way. So all of that could be genuinely important. But what about those areas and moments when you're awake? Give plenty, more interest in the moments of appreciation, the moments of being awake. Really do that. Make the outdoors. And if you can't get outdoors, sit in a chair on your balcony in your flat or your garden or whatever, and be outdoors. And all of that, recognizing where you're awake with your diet, awake with your friendships, many other, recognize that, get that right, then you can look at what the problems are. But don't imagine, if I keep looking at my problems, I'm going to resolve my problems because I keep looking at them. Hopeless. Not a chance. Not a chance. Enough. I'm going to have a drink of water. I'm drying up with the throat. I heard my granddaughter just come in, bless her. She lives upstairs in the loft. It's a privilege to have a 16-year-old teenager. Yeah? Those of you who are parents or teachers will know this very well. They make an extraordinary contribution to keeping us awake. That's why we need our young as much as our young need us. All right. Quiet minute, then a couple of words on the dana, then the Q&A. Right. Mandy spoke to us a little while earlier and mentioned this glorious, beautiful tradition of dana, of donations, the practice of generosity, really, the gift, the sharing. And those of us who've been living this way for decades, and particularly in our money-orientated world, people sometimes say to me, we say with Sangha Live or other areas, oh, how much does it cost to have an hour and a half session with a teacher on Sangha Live? And it doesn't cost. I mean, it certainly costs a lot of work in preparing and setting it up. A lot of people put in a lot of time to make it available. But no charge per person is made to any of you, and no charge is also made from any of the teachers. And I've noticed regularly over the past 50 years of teaching, nearly 50 years of teaching, that sometimes when a person hears the gift, the sharing, the infinite invitation to the donation, immediately the interest goes up. Oh, it's not about making bucket loads of money. It's not about getting rich. It's about something else. And it itself is one of the most dare I use the word here, marketable. Something that touches people. The gift is powerful. And Sangha Live, to its everlasting credit, week after week, year after year, running out for several years, it's been consistent in the trust of you. And the trust which gives support to the small team that work together, cooperate together, do all the background, as well as all the payments for all the administrative stuff and everything that goes on. You probably know about all that. And as well as for the teacher there. And it brings a special appreciation and gratitude from us as well. The kindness, the love, the gift. Wow, people are so kind and supportful. And sometimes we don't get that in the payment for services model. Though it's a valid way of working. But this way of working, when possible, helps to give trust of the dedication to service and the joy that goes with it. And a big thank you to Marnie, a big thank you to the whole team, a big thank you to Sangha Live everywhere, around the world. Say, this is worth supporting. And thank you very much for I'm one of the beneficiaries, obviously. With this period of time, $20 minutes. Any questions that you might have? And I asked Marnie, because sometimes you're good voice, so I said to Marnie, if I am neglecting the chat column, Marnie will let me know. Thank you, Marnie. All right. Anything you'd like to respond? And I'll look in the chat. So Sangha Live is given how you can donate, and do make there. And with the composer and musician, the pianist Analdi, that was mentioned there, and also the kind words. Anything anybody would like to touch upon? I'm not sure if there are any in the actual chat column itself.
You can see the participants who are raising their hands now.
All right. Okay. Oh, I see the hand raising. All right. So anyone raise their hand, switch off your mute, and I'll happy to listen.
Do we just jump in or wait to be called on?
Oh, speak.
All right. Thank you. I just love listening to your talks, and I'm so happy that that you came to Sangha Live today. It's always uplifting. I'm in the arts, and so I always appreciate teachings about how one can be uplifted by nature and the arts, poetry, and I love your poetry. It seemed like a lot of it's in iambic pentameter. Is that right?
I'm a traditionalist. Absolutely.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I had to write sonnets every day when I was a child. So that's I even was thinking in iambic pentameter as a child. I just
for those of you to it's a line with 10 syllables, rising and falling. To be or not to be, that is the question. That's the form. Carry on. Go on.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to ask for your feedback on, well, or guidance, or I don't know, advice. I'm involved in a lot of groups ever since I plunged deeply into the Dharma at the beginning of the pandemic, for which I'm eternally grateful. I've been in a lot of groups where there's an outright hostility towards even the word God, and I was so relieved to hear you say, you know, a lot of people don't like that word, but I love it, and the freedom of that. And while I totally respect people's you know, conditioning, and a lot of people have been deeply injured by every religious tradition. I mean, I think it's a worldwide, you know, it has been since forever. Nevertheless, to me, it's really hard to deal with the hostility against just the concept of a divine force.
Yes.
You know, so I'm just wondering. It's hard for me to navigate the communities I'm in for that reason. I'm diplomatic. Sometimes I feel to the point of being almost hypocritical in terms of my own beliefs. That I'm hiding my light under a bushel, so to speak. So I'm wondering if you have some guidance in that area. Those of us who do have spiritual beliefs and don't wish to impose them, and yet don't wish to be engaged in the kind of warfare almost. Thank you.
Yeah. I agree. It isn't easy listening to. Some people either, in a way, a kind of hardcore atheist, militant. So the word God represents that which they're totally against, which is their concept of what the word God means. So some of them are that. There are others who have a religious upbringing and it wasn't healthy for them. It didn't work for them there. And there may well have been intolerance and self-righteousness and being judgmental and so forth. And so that word represents something which they've liberated themselves from. So such people don't want to hear the word in the Buddhist world, because the reason they like the Dharma, because it doesn't make too much fuss about God there. But some are comfortable with it. So it's not always easy to know why those who don't like the word God, what's the background? And literally it could be trauma. You know, what's the background to it? But also in this relationship, in the Dharma's language is incredibly free. So free that it gives the human being, anyway, the right and the opportunity to find God, called love, called compassion, called appreciative joy, to have a deep sense that this is God. This is the supreme in life there, and to honor that. But the language is so flexible that in these teachings, we do not have to use the word God either. It is not a word which has to be centralized in the epicenter. And that gives people a great freedom. And now, I was brought up in the Catholic Church and happy to get out of it, etc., etc. And it gave a freedom to explore spiritually, and for some religiously, but spiritually more, there. Experiences and language without the God language. And I think it, as you said at the end, it genuinely is important to listen to ourselves with this. If some of us who feel quite at home with God as a word, use it. I use it, as you've heard. And others just not their cup of tea, then don't. Never mention the word God. We're not dependent on God. It's just that's the freedom, and just some are a bit self-righteous about it. The anti, there. So they translate it as divine abiding. But the word divine in Pali is a completely different, it sits there, but it's a completely different word.
Right. Brahma Viharas is very clear. It's
yeah, exactly. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. Yes, anyone, please.
Hi, this is Jonathan. Thank you so much, Christopher, for your teaching tonight. I guess I wanted to ask about the Noble Eightfold Path, right livelihood and happiness. So
yes.
I've just got a pretty amazing job, which I accepted, starting hopefully get the in a sort of facilitator role. But it coincides with another job which the management have been in touch with me about, which is much more in the creative role. And I like both, to facilitate, and I like
Yes.
to be creative. And I'm not sure whether to pursue it. So the job I'm accepting, that manager knows that I am of another company interested in, and the other job wouldn't start to the beginning of next year. So there's no certainty that this creative job or not. But I guess, but behind all this toing and froing is kind of, what is right speech? How honest should I be with both sets of employers? And the other, and also behind that is, tonight's topic, sukkha. Can one actually, in the West, I feel we have so much. Your work has got to be your passion, and this, that, and the other. Maybe I just want the facilitating job and just to relax, as the creative one being in the spotlight and trying to get acclaim and all that. I'm not sure. I'm quite in a bit of a transition, really,
Yes,
but
right.
I'm very happy that I do have a job offer. The one that I have already, I had to fight off a lot of people to get the one I've been offered already. So yeah, any thoughts on that?
Yes, sure. Yeah, yeah. It's not an unusual dilemma. I'll just touch upon the kind of the duality of the situation for a moment or two. Always the first is the underlying, is the ethic. And what I mean in this case is, do both fields of work which you're interested in, the creative and the facilitation work, do both carry an ethic of non-exploitation and non-abuse, of care, service, benefit, creativity, etc. So if both have a kind of intrinsic value and you trust both to be beneficial in that way, in a way, it doesn't matter.
It's true.
It really doesn't matter. It's a little bit personal preference, but the deeper issue is in place. And if one genuinely think, well, this is more in my line with my integrity, with my ethics, with my values, whatever, then that's the one. The other one goes out the window. There. The other aspect is Eightfold Path. Livelihood is different from career.
All right.
Career is language of it is primarily that which gives support to oneself or one's family. Oh, I'm developing my career. I'm going up the ladder or whatever. Livelihood is not primarily the interest of the self. Livelihood in Dharma teaching is the act of service. Therefore, what I do and what the influence, the impact outwardly is, matters. So it's not about me getting more for me. It's about what is to be offered, what one has to offer.
Interesting.
And that's the shift in the dichotomy of career and livelihood. Livelihood is about service, whatever that might be about. The other, as well, coming back to the third point you made, the Buddha's yardstick, and it's an important one here, is speaking that which is true and useful. True and useful. And sometimes what's really true really can be expressed if you're willing to be bold. And truth invites that. So what I mean by that, you state to the person, the facilitating world, yes, I'm interested, but let me make it clear, there is the potential somewhere else.
Mm.
And I think the reason for that, amongst the many, is that you're being truthful, you're being honest, you're being open, you're sharing something there, and it gives your employer the opportunity to ask some more. And you could say what the interest is about. And finally, it could be that in the openness and the honesty, there may be a way to fuse together the two. Facilitating can be creative. Facilitating needs a lot of imagination to be a good facilitator. If you walk into the creative world and your primary interest is fame, good luck. You're lost already. You can take the other job. You know what that fellow's name, I forget. No, Brad Pitt. You don't often hear great wisdom. But sometimes you do. He said, I loved it. He said, there are 3 kinds of bad karma in the world. He said the Buddhists say there are 3 kinds of bad karma in the world. 2 or 3, I forget what they are. Anyway, one of them is to be rich for all the problems that he can bring. A second is to be famous, rich and famous. These are powerful magnetic forces. And the third one, it might come in the next few minutes. It might come to me there. Okay. Oh, handsome! I got it. Handsome or beautiful. These are 3 forms of bad karma.
Oh, wow!
And I thought, Brad, you're right on. You should be in the Dharma hall speaking about it. Okay, yeah. Rich, famous, and beautiful or handsome. And Eve should know.
Wow,
etc. So if we keep out of that minefield, there, and then it's about creativity. It's not about ego. And if you know yourself, it's going to end up you pursuing fame. Take the facilitation job.
Okay, lots to think about. Thank you.
Pleasure.
We do have something in the chat.
Yes. Have I done my time?
You have a couple
more minutes. 2 minutes. Yes. All right, Marty.
Okay.
Anything to
Olivia
say?
asks, how can we begin to notice those small joys in our lives more often? Do you have any daily practices?
Yes. All right. That's good question. How can I notice small joys? The mindfulness. So sometimes it's naming them. First thing is to name it. Name it gives it. What is the joy about? And sometimes it may be unknown. One just feels happy. Right. I just feel happy. That's named it as well. Some it's listing, writing it down. So there's a joy. The joy moves up through the being. It moves out down the arm, like I'm right now. And it moves into the pen. It moves into the computer. It moves into your tablet or whatever. And therefore there's a bringing out of the joy. And sometimes that joy in a lovely way can be shared. So years ago, writing poems. I never read one of them to anybody. The poems I got from my 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s, sometimes got my life and other people's lives in it, and my love life in it, and my struggle life in it, and my travel life in it, all over the years. Yeah. And so the writing down, or a couple of lines of poetry, or sharing with the other. So something is flowing there. And that can help. And may you have notebooks full, unbelievably full of huge numbers of joys, and share it. Not, oh, I'm so happy. Yeah, boring. But it's the joy, not I had, it's the joy you share. We need joy in this world. Oh, we need it. Oh, do we need it? Oh, goodness me. Have fun, enjoy, and don't forget to attend to the problematic. The joy will help. Are there any other questions on there, Marnie, I should be looking at?
No, a lot of talk about the musician that you referenced. So, and
All right.
love for you, love
And
for you, and thanks.
If you go on WhatsApp, and you can listen to an hour and a half at a concert. Just make sure you've got your hanky in your pocket to wipe your eyes. Sometimes we find a jewel in life. Wow. Like Leonard, it becomes a companion over the years. And this one is going to be one of Christopher's companions over the years. Wow. Beautiful. Shall we have a quiet minute together? All right, quiet minute to finish. May all beings notice the uplifting experience. May all beings be receptive to the deep. May all beings notice the transcendent moments which put our modest life into perspective. Thank you very, very much, everyone. Thank you to Mani and the team. Thank you for your lovely present. Joy to meet with you all, and enjoy the day. Thank you. Lots of love to you all. Bye for now.